Let's do this.
All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Daily Devotion with Beez. I'm your host, Beez the Chaplain. Okay, and as you can tell, I'm still on break. I'm going to be here for the next couple of days. So hopefully you can hear me, and the microphone that's built into here can pick up. Because people are still sleeping, and I don't want to be that guy. So anyway. Welcome to today's daily devotion. I hope everyone had an enjoyable weekend. I had a great time, and as you can tell, though I'm relatively dark to begin with, I got a tan. Got a little sunburn as well, but that's okay because no pain, no gain. And so I'm feeling pretty fresh, and the skin looks a bit red, but a bit dark, and getting that tan in. Sup, Jada? Good morning. Hope you're having a great day. So today. This is going to be my location. It was for Friday. It's going to be today and then tomorrow morning. And we're going to head back home tomorrow afternoon. And I'm going to go start straight back into prison ministry. So hopefully, with what I've been organizing with the coordinator for chaplaincy services, I'm going to start doing visitations and referrals as early as Monday. As early as Wednesday. Thursday. Good morning, Karen. This is my wife. She's in that room. She's awake. I hope you can hear me okay. So even though I've got this kind of inside hush voice, you can hear me okay. I'm going to go straight into the devotion, and today's devotion is titled, God Has Already Laid the Foundation. So when we think about, we think about God, we think, I'm going to speak really into the omnipresence of God, the all everywhere, every time, like ever-present God. And that's where he refers himself. Good morning, Mum. That's where he celebrates and kind of, I'm going to say, boasts in his power of being all present, ever present. He's the Alpha, the Omega. He's the beginning and the end. And through Jesus Christ, he says, who was, who is, and who is to come. And I'm really tapping into the who is to come part this morning. And it's like God has already laid the foundation. Now, so the story that I'm going to read to you is found in Mark chapter 5. It's in the Gospels, and it's a story about Jesus. I'm going to read the entire story. So that's pretty much what's going to take a big chunk of our time, but that's okay because, what else are we doing today? We're going to get into the word. So, all right. So this is what it says. This is Mark chapter 5, and I'm starting not at the beginning of the chapter, but I'm going to start at verse 42. Nope. I'm not even starting at I'm starting at Mark chapter 5, verse 1. Okay, so here we go. Sorry about that. So I'm just going to show that. Bible reference, Mark chapter 5, verse 1. But the focal point is mainly verse 20. But also with 20, it's also going to be, what's it called? There's another verse, I think it's about 16 or 18 that I'd like to highlight now. But let's read it. It goes, so Jesus and the disciples, they came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gadarenes. And when he had come out of the boat, immediately there he met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tombs. So who established himself, or this man who had an unclean spirit was outcast and exiled, and who had made his dwelling place in the tombs of the people of the dead. Tombs, and no one could bind him, not even with chains, because he had often been bound with shackles and chains. And the chains he had been pulled apart by him, and the shackles broken into pieces. Neither could anyone tame him. And always, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying out and cutting himself with stones. Now, I'm reading from the NKJV, the New King James Version. This is my holiday Bible, by the way. And it's a bit hard for me to read these ones, but I'm really trying to bring it out. When he saw Jesus, the man who had the unclean spirit, when he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and worshipped him And he cried out with a loud voice and said, "What have I done with you, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I implore you by God that you do not torment me." For he said to him, "Come out of the man, unclean spirit." And then he asked them, "What is your name?" And he answered, saying, "My name is Legion, for we are many." Also, he begged him earnestly that he would not send him out of the country. Now, there's a lot of stuff like in regards to demonic possession, in regards to the spiritual realm, specifically in this conversation, that I have absolutely no idea what's going on. I don't understand this dialogue, and I think I need to do a lot more further research to see what other scholars may speculate about this, or may have discovered about this particular conversation. But now that's not the focal point right now. He said, "Now a large herd of swines was feeding near the mountains, so all the demons begged him, saying, 'Send us to the swine, that we may enter them.' And at once Jesus gave them permission. Then the unclean spirit went out and entered the swine. There were about 2,000 of them in number." And what I think is awesome, though we're talking about the omnipresence of God, what I really like in this part of the story is the omnipotence of God, the all-powerful God, where he's actually saying, "I have the power over the spiritual realm." By the way, good morning, Dirk. Welcome to the daily devotion. I hope you had a good weekend. So yeah, we're looking at the omnipresence of God, but in this point, you've got an evil spirit. You've got 2,000 in one man, and they're begging Jesus, right? And Jesus gives them permission. Imagine the authority that Jesus has. That really validates and really reminds me the God that I serve. It's not a God that has to fight, and has to battle and it's like basically even thousands upon thousands of demons worship him and then ask for his permission, and Jesus gives them permission. For me, that shows great authority and great power. Yeah, he's on my team. I'm glad he's on my team. And then it said, at once Jesus gave them permission. Then the unclean spirits went out and entered the swine, and the herd ran violently down the steep place into the sea and drowned into the sea. Here we go. So those who fed the swine fled, and they told it in the city and in the country, and they went out to see what was that happened to them. Then they came to Jesus and saw that one who had been demon possessed and had the legion sitting and clothed and was in his right mind. So he had been healed. Jesus had healed him by exorcising the demon out of him. And they were afraid. So the people, they come out and they notice what has taken place. They've attempted and they've failed. And now they see that Jesus has done this, and they've become afraid. And I think it's because the cause and effect, for Jesus to take the demon out of the man, he puts them into the swine or the herd of pigs. And they're not wild pigs. They're actually owned. The owners of the pigs went back into town. And it's like that the focal point was like the loss of income, or the focus point was more the loss of the pigs rather than the salvation of the man, or the sanity of the man, or the safety of the man. And their priorities, in my opinion, were out. And so when they come out, they say they were afraid of what Jesus had done. And those who saw it told how it happened to him, and to the man who had been demon possessed, and about the swine. Then they began to plead with him to depart from their area. So it's like, not only are they not happy or not satisfied with what has taken place by saving this man, but because of what's taken place, they may have understood that this is a man who has power and authority over demons. So it's like, well, who is he? Is he good? Is he evil? He's just flexing authority right now and flexing power. And so in fear, they've asked him to flee. Even though the man is now dressed and in his right mind, there's a bit of distrust, and there's a bit of uncertainty. Yeah. And then it goes here, verse 18. And when he got back into the boat, and this is Jesus and the disciples, because they've been asked to leave now, right? And so they've been obedient to that, and and Jesus is like, okay, let's bounce. And when they got back into the boat, he who had been demon possessed begged him that he might be with him. Well, of course, Jesus is the one that says, here, come, drop what you're doing and follow me. Leave your family behind, follow me. You will now be fishers of men. Follow me, follow me. So, yeah, so he's following you. And not only that, like this man has experienced a miracle, right? You hear the Damascus experience with Paul. It took like 3-4 days, of conversion experience. This was instantaneously, right? It was, it was undeniable of what the experience that he had with God. And so, of course, he would want to follow him. This is where I think it's is real interesting of Jesus's response. So he said, begged him that he might be with him. However, Jesus did not permit him, but said to him instead, go home to your friends and tell them what great things the Lord has done for you and how he has had compassion on you. And then in verse 20, he said, and he departed and began to proclaim in the Decapolises, which is in the tens of cities. It's not just one town that he was from. I'll explain in a second. All that Jesus had done for him. And all of them marveled. That's the key word, marveled. Let's do a bit of a comparison here, right? So you've got the pig herders who run and see what's taking place, and they run back to the town, right, in the surrounding area, and they tell them their experience about this man who's taken out all these pigs because he's cast all the demons into the pigs. They've come out, and what was the response and what was the reaction? It was fear. They were afraid, and they asked him to leave, right? But then Jesus has an interaction with just one man, and that man goes into the Decapolises, meaning the tens of cities. So it's not just one city. It wasn't Gerasenes or Gardenians. I don't know what it's called. Someone please come and tell me what the thing is. I'm not, I don't know how to read that word, and I probably decimated it. But it's not just that one town, but he goes to the Decapolises, which is like tens of towns or tens of cities. So he's not only starting to speak of sharing his testimony to that one town and just to his friends and his families, but the impact that God has had on him, it's caused him to go and lay a foundation of who God is. Because afterwards, after a bit of time, Jesus returns there, right? And when Jesus returns there, he's welcomed, and they receive him and they celebrate him. Because and the reason why is because at the end of the day, it says at the end of the verse, and he departed and began to preach in the Decapolises, and all that Jesus had done for him, and all marveled. The reason why they know that they marveled is because they returned and saw that it was such a warm and welcoming reception, and people were marveled from that man's testimony. I love the fact that Jesus knew, in his foresight, Jesus knew that in his, who was and is to come, he knew what was to come. And he said, instead of you following me, and instead of you just following me and not having an impact on the world and sharing my good news, I'm going to redirect you. And in my redirection of you, you are going to spread the word. You are going to spread your testimony. You're going to lay the foundation for me. So when I come, it's not that I'm starting from scratch, but I'm just basically validating the hope that people have found in me because of you. And so that's what I wanted to focus on today. Like the fact that God has gone before us in so many ways and has already laid a foundation. The reason why I bring this up is because, we're entering Christmas. We're entering the season of Christmas, and a lot of time it's like we're entering the season of giving. We're entering the season of giving back. We're into the season of, showing our generosity. It's like Christmas should not be a time about receiving presents, but it's about being a blessing or being generous and giving, And so for me, it's like, and sometimes, and I'm not saying because we're selfish or anything, but sometimes we get busy and being generous and having that heart of generosity, it happens in little increments throughout our year. But then towards the end of the year, it's like, we want to celebrate what God has done in our lives. But it's like that idea of how can we give back? How is it that we can actually give back? This is where, for me, we fall into the trap of reinventing the wheel, right? It's like, we should do this. We should host a program. And I'm talking on my behalf, some churches and some individual, we should do this one-off thing. We should do this. And sometimes it's like we spend all this effort and energy reinventing the wheel. Whereas in all honesty, Churches, organizations have been doing this for years. And I think for us, God has said, I've already laid the foundation in so many of these organizations and established, my presence, right? And established how I'm good in those spaces. What you need to do is capitalize on those things. Don't go and reinvent the wheel and, invest your effort and energy and funding into recreating something new just for this one-off time. No, God has given us this heart of generosity, but he's also made us sensible by saying, for the things that I've already created, I want you to go and utilize those spaces, because I've made people and organizations and initiatives vessels to spread my love, vessels to spread my glory. I'll give you an example. There's a company that they do a one-off thing, right? It's a one-off initiative. It's like a shoebox. It's the Shoebox Something initiative, whatever. And basically all you do is you fill up a shoebox with gifts, like with whatever it is. And then you like throughout the year or throughout the Christmas season, you make as many shoeboxes and then you give it to the organization, and they find people who are in need and give them out. They find people who, do it tough over Christmas, and then they provide for them. There are so many churches that now, and I think it's amazing, there's churches, there's shopping centers that have those trees, and on the trees, it's not ornaments. And under the tree, it's not just empty boxes for decoration, but it's actually on the tree, there are like paper ornaments, and it says, boy of 14 years old or girl of 7 years old. And what you do is you take that tag and you're given the opportunity to go and buy a gift for that child. And then you give the gift, you put the tag on it, and you put it underneath the tree. And so, like, in that spirit of generosity, a lot of us are thinking, oh, what do we do? What do we do? Do we just, it's like, well, God's already placed things, right? Placed programs, placed initiatives, and placed, people in our lives that we're like, yeah, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Let's just be generous. And I feel that God has kind of laid that foundation already. The reason why I say that is because as I transition into prison ministry, what I think is really awesome over the last couple of years, Corrective Services has said to me, Corrective Services has had a real risk on when it comes to, personal relationships with inmates, and knowing people within, and the whole fear, because I did a couple of courses on mandatory courses before I go in there, is being aware of emotional manipulation, being aware of, when inmates try and capitalize on the sympathy card and all of this kind of stuff. And just being aware that some inmates might try and take advantage of you if you're a chaplain or you're a person trying to provide a service, and ways of emotional and mental manipulation to try and get what they want, which ultimately leads to corruption. So there's this real, fear factor around, and so the actual Department of Corrective Services weren't actually, they were really mindful about who you would know on the outside and who you would know on the inside. And they really didn't celebrate us speaking to people that we knew inside. However, over the last couple of years, there's been, I guess, a revelation within the prison system or corrective services where it's like, well, if I'm a chaplain and I'm connected to a church and there's an inmate who is actually connected to this community, then of course we want him to be supported. We want them to be supported by that chaplain and from that church. It's not a thing of, exclusion now. It's a place of, hey, we know that you were part of a community and we just want to help. We want you to be helped receive help from that community. So when you are released, you don't feel alone. You don't feel isolated. You don't feel alienated. And so what they've actually done is turn it around and say, we need you, Beez, to go back to your churches, and we need you to be the conduit for the people who are outside to the people who they might know on the side. So, so I'm going to put it, because sometimes it's like, well, I know that there are inmates, or I know my cousin, or I know such and such is in Long Bay, and I can't, and I know that there's visitations, but that takes a process, and sometimes it's only over. God has given us the opportunity now to say, hey, use Beez as the conduit, right? And I've actually seen stories of that, how that's really changed the attitude of the person on the inside, or the inmate who's felt alone by themselves, to know that their chaplain is kind of giving them words of encouragement from their mother, from their father, from their family, saying, hey, though you're doing time here, though you're going through the process of rehabilitation back into I guess, society, and on your journey of being released. In the meantime, know that you're supported. Know that even during this time of COVID and safety issues and stuff, you can still get messages from the outside, from your parents, from your family, from your siblings, to give you that encouragement. I've seen it work. So I'm just putting it out there that if you know anyone in Long Bay specifically, or if you know friends and family and stuff, we're now being given permission to say, hey, let us know, because what we need to do is just remain transparent. But people inside would definitely appreciate that. And so God is saying, you don't have to reinvent the wheel and go to the governor and go to this. Nah, go to me. Like, come and contact me. If you know anyone in Long Bay, if you know anyone in different prisons, let me know, because as the prison chaplain, it is my role to provide support to the people on the inside. So I guess in total, or as a higher level thing, if you've got a question on, like, if the Spirit is prompting you and saying, hey, let's celebrate the fact that God has brought you through a great year, and you've come out of there stronger, you've come out of there with more resilience, and you've been motivated to be generous during this time, I encourage you not to reinvent the wheel, and be reminded that God has gone before us in many areas, and that we can actually tap into that. We can tap into the different churches and different organizations that provide that support, not just to random people, but for people who need support in specific and intentional ways. So I just wanted to put it out there. I like the fact that God has done that. God has done that many times, that He's sent us before, so that others don't have to reinvent the wheel. And we can actually use as conduits to be hope and life and love in those spaces, so that all can marvel. And if you have any questions and say, well, Beez, how can I get involved, or how can I support and stuff like that, let me know, because I know a number of agencies that are doing some great things over Christmas, for children, for youth, for families who are struggling. And if you have that thing of, okay, I want to give money, but I want to make sure that the money's actually going to the person, not to the, let me know, because through the spaces that I've done, like work and stuff, there are specific organizations that are very transparent on how much they give to the end person, and the way they do the books and stuff is very transparent and very legit. So if you have any questions about that, hey, hit me up, and I'll be happy to answer that question. Anyway, I'm going to close in a word of prayer. So if you just want to bow your heads and close your eyes. Heavenly Father, as we lead into a time where we're motivated and inspired to give back, or just to give out of the spirit of generosity that you've given in our hearts, Lord, I just pray that we're wise about it, that you give us a heart we give us a heart of generosity, but you also give us a mind of responsibility and, I guess, sensibility, just so we can be sensible with the money that we have. And Lord, I just pray that by your guidance, when we have the ability to give, we can give intentionally, and be at peace with knowing that when we give, it's for your glory and to do your will. We thank you that you've already gone before us and laid plans and laid the foundations, so your work can be done here to build the kingdom. Thank you that people and organizations are the conduit when it's tough. Being in the prison, it's hard to constantly get, support from the outside, but praise the Lord for chaplains, praise the Lord for mental health, like psychologists, praise the Lord for the support network that's in the prisons to be that conduit to people, to inmates and their family on the outside. And Lord, I just pray that you can use me as that vessel, as that instrument to family and friends and church members who are on the outside, who may want to send a message of encouragement to their family or friend on the inside in Long Bay or Parkley or any of the prisons in New South Wales. May you continue to use us as vessels and instruments for your love, your mercy, and your grace during this period of time, so everyone can feel joy, everyone can feel peace and hope in who you are. I pray that you be with us now. I ask this all in your loving name. Amen. Thank you so much once again. Sorry, my nose is running now. Thank you so much once again for joining me on Daily Devotions with Beez. I'm your host, Beez the Chaplain. Thank you on Instagram, on Twitch, on Facebook, and YouTube Live. I hope you have an amazing day. I will see you tomorrow back here at 9 o'clock. And I just wanted to say the reason why this setup is a bit different, it seems my internet's a bit playing up. So if there's a bit of a lag, I apologize on the Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube sites. But yeah, the reason why I wanted to give this setup is so everyone can enjoy this art piece, the artwork on this house. I'm a big fan of that one. If you don't see it on Tuesday, it's because I've packed it. I'm just kidding, I'm going to steal it. But yeah, I really like the color scheme. Anyway, I'm going to bounce. Have yourselves a great day. Enjoy the beautiful weather. Well, if you're here in Jarvis, but if you're back in Sydney, I don't know if it's raining or whatever. Anyway, enjoy the day. I'll see you tomorrow again at 9 o'clock for another daily devotion with Beez. In the meantime, stay safe, stay blessed. Peace out. Much love. Bye.